So, as Carol said, I'm Monique, and I am the project manager for sales data. So, I'm going to be taking you guys through today some of the updates to sales data since last year and what we're working on for the future, and just a bit of an overview of a feature that we introduced recently that we wanted to give you guys kind of a 101 level exploration of so you can use it to its fullest potential. So, Carol just talked about the integration of sales data within Catalyst, but I'm going to talk about the OG sales data. You guys use sales data to pull numbers on your own titles all the time, so I'm going to talk a bit about some numbers that are specific to sales data. So our users run over 401,000 reports in the last calendar year. That's a lot of reports. It's almost 1,000 for each day. So you guys seem to really like reporting. We have 1,700 users running those reports, so it works out to about 230 reports per user per year, which is pretty impressive. And 372 reports are scheduled, so those are sent out every week through the saved and scheduled reports function. I don't know about you guys, I really like waking up to an email from sales data with some fresh numbers in it, so hopefully you guys do too. And in our sales data database, we have 726,221 ISBNs. That's a lot of ISBNs. And 581,000 of those and change are active ISBNs, which are ISBNs that had either sales on hand or on order information in the last year. And that's 80% of the ISBNs within sales data. So that's pretty impressive too. And we have 33 million rows of biblio data, but we have over 1 billion rows of sales data, which is a lot of rows, so I thought I would break that down in some maybe more understandable measures. That's more rows than are used to operate the space shuttle. It's more rows than are used to operate Jurassic Park. I don't know about Jurassic World, they don't share their numbers. And it's actually more rows of data than are in the genome of an actual living mouse. So you might say that sales data is a bit more complex than life itself. You might. So who's using all this data? So the BookNet research team uses the data to pull reports like the Canadian book market, the deep dive genre studies that are being released now, and a bunch of other different studies throughout the year. Publishers, retailers, libraries, distributors, library wholesalers, literary agents, sales agents, all also access the data, and we're also using data to pull bestseller reports for the media. So if you're wondering where that comes from, we might be involved. So last year at Tech Forum, we promised a couple things, like the Catalyst sales data integration that Carol just talked about. And we also talked about replacing a tool called BNC Prospector with something inside sales data. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because we did it, and it's really cool. It's gap analysis reporting. So what is gap analysis reporting? In gap analysis, you're comparing two markets, Market A and Market B, and you're comparing their sales and inventory to identify gaps in either acquisition, inventory, or purchases. So when you're setting up the criteria for a gap analysis report, there are three sort of main areas where you can select markets. The home market, which is the first drop-down in the main criteria block, is where you're looking for gaps in the market. The comparison market is the market you'll be comparing against and using as a benchmark for that report. And the additional markets you select are not used in the comparison, but their sales data will be returned to you, so you can use that for whatever else you might need. The first type of the three gap analysis reports is the buying gaps report, which you can see sort of in the tabs above the criteria screen. And this helps you identify sales opportunities. So this is an example of an output from the buying gaps report. For retailers, this will help you find titles that you're not stocking or selling that are selling elsewhere. And for publishers, this is a good way to identify some actionable titles that a retailer should sell. So this will return titles that are not on hand or on order, but that you might want to try. The inventory performance report identifies underperforming inventory at a retailer. And this is an example of a return from that report. So for retailers, this is really good at finding underperforming titles within your stock. And for publishers, this will help you identify titles that are underperforming at a specific retailer. And the last type of the gap analysis report is the bestseller gap report, which will help you understand how bestsellers perform across different markets. So this is an example of that report, and you can see this is one that doesn't return the 0 on-hand or sales information in the home market. This is just comparing the top sellers in the comparison market, and in this output, it's the all market, and showing you what the sales of those are in the home market that you've selected. So for retailers, this helps you compare your bestseller performance against the all market bestseller performance, or help you compare bestsellers between retailers if you're a publisher. If you're a multi-store chain, this can also be useful to compare the bestseller performance between your locations. So speaking of retailers, there's a few things I wanted to say about them. In the last year, we announced the following 4 retailers joining us up at Sales Data reporting: Let's Talk Books, Beguiling Books and Art, Mastermind Toys, and Shelf Life. But we've recently added these retailers to Sales Data, so I'm excited to announce them now. The Gold Rush Bookstore, Western Bookstore, Pilgrim Book and Bible, Flying Books, Queen Books, which is opening here in Toronto next month, and Mabel's Fables are all reporting to Sales Data. Or in the case of Queen Books, they will be when they're open and selling books. When we're looking for new retailers to sign up for Sales Data, we need your help, publishers. Retailers are always much more keen to supply sales data to us if they know there's interest from the publishing community in seeing that data. So if you're looking to find a retailer, or if you're working with a retailer and you'd like them to be reporting to Sales Data, there are a few things you can do. The first thing I would suggest is checking the retailer list, which is accessible in the sidebar of Sales Data. This is a list of all the retailers currently reporting, and you can switch tabs to see retired retailers who are no longer reporting. And while you're looking here to find that retailer, or check if that retailer you're looking at might be a good target for you to recruit, you can also see if there's a retailer on here whose data you would like to see on your views in Sales Data. And if you're interested in that, you can contact your rep at that retailer and get them to grant you permission to turn on those views, and then let us know and we'll get that set up for you. So if you were looking at recruiting a retailer, there are a couple questions that we always like to know the answers to before we move forward. The first is your retailer set up with a POS system? We work with many different POS systems like Book Manager, Shopify, WordStock, and many more. And also, consistent data is the best data. So if they're able to report weekly, preferably by Monday, that's the best way to get consistent data into Sales Data. So once you've answered those main questions, you can put us in touch. You can either pass along your retailer's contact info to us, and we'll take it from there, or you can send an introductory note letting them know and letting us know that you're hooking us up so we can get them into Sales Data. We at BookNet are also working on preparing a suite of materials to make available to publishers so that it can assist them in recruiting retailers and having all the information you need so you can answer some questions. So I'm going to go through now just a few features that we're working on for Sales Data in the future. The first is the return of the all peers view in the single ISBN report, which we're now calling the single ISBN multi-market report. This is the most requested item in our customer satisfaction survey results, as well as from our advisory group meetings. So people are very keen to see this. The multi-market report, essentially what it does is when you run a single ISBN report, it will show you the most recent week's sales broken out by retailers that you have access to view data for. Some other things we're working on are homepage and gap analysis enhancements that were requested also through the customer sat survey and through Sales Data advisory group meetings. One of the big things we're working on is being able to toggle the homepage between seeing the values in number of units sold to dollars of value sold list. So you can track that information in whatever measure matters the most to you. We're looking at improving the gap analysis reporting by applying a threshold to the home market instead of just to the comparison market in the inventory performance report specifically. And some other enhancements as well, like adding the publisher column to the search results and redesigning the single ISBN results page so you can access the information you need from that page more easily. And last but not least, we're working on a system to ingest library circulation data and track loans, holds, and renewals of books and being able to report on that data so you can see what the activity of your titles is like in the library. We have a few libraries like Hamilton, Ottawa, and Marigold set up to do some beta testing with us. And if there are any librarians in the room who are interested in that, they can get in touch with me. That would be great. So if you ever have any sales data questions or queries, or just want to talk about sales data, you can find me during the break. Or you can email me at any of these addresses up here. I'd be happy to geek out about sales data with you. Yeah, thanks so much. And if you have any questions that you feel comfortable asking in front of the whole room, let me know.